for natural healing and talking tonight a little bit about gut health. So, we had an awesome event. I was so excited. We had some really wonderful people, got to meet some lovely ladies and gentlemen at the health talk that we did at Dancing Marlins. And I'm not going to go over everything, but I do want to kind of recap a little bit about what we talked about because I think it's so important. And some of you guys don't live close by, so you can't really enjoy, and come and listen. And so, if you guys are possibly interested in a Zoom webinar, please let me know because we can talk about like a whole bunch of different topics and things like that. Not next month, but I think the following month, we're going to be doing a health talk on hormones and either going to do it at Dancing Marlins or at the Harvest Room in Palos. I'm not sure which. So, but I really liked Dancing Marlins in Frankfurt. But we're going to talk a little bit about gut health because it is such an important topic. And a lot of people, yes, they understand, they know that gut health, or well, they think they know that gut health is really important, but they don't know why it's really important. And I'm going to go over a little bit some of the reasons and like everything that makes up the gut. So it's not just your mouth, your tongue, your stomach, and your intestines. Actually, there's a lot of other organs that play a very important role in your gut, including your liver and your pancreas and your gallbladder. And your gut actually is linked to a lot of different things, including your immune system. So if your immune system is weak, it could be from poor gut health because we need actually a certain amount of different microbes in our gut to actually balance out our immune system and to support it. We actually need a certain amount and a diversity of gut microbiome and good bacteria. So microbiome is good bacteria. It's candida. And yes, there actually can be good candida, good yeast. So we need a diversity of these things. And most Americans and actually most people do not have this diversity. And we actually need this diversity. So a lot of different amounts of bacteria and things like that for our body to function properly. And the gut can actually cause an imbalance when it's imbalance in our hormones, an imbalance in our mental health, an imbalance in our immune system, and actually can be linked to autoimmune diseases too, and inflammatory diseases such as IBS, IBD, colitis, Crohn's. So if your gut microbiome is imbalanced, it could be one of the reasons why you have these other issues. So we need this for like a whole slew of for our bodies to function properly. Well, and think about it, right? So if your gut cannot break down foods, if it cannot absorb nutrients, then your organs are not getting the nutrients it needs to function. It's like sticking the wrong type of fuel in your car, like diesel in a regular gasoline car. That ain't going to work so well. Kind of like your body. So, and if you're not able to utilize the gasoline or the foods that you're putting into your body, then your organs are and your glands are not getting the nutrients it needs to do their job properly. And then you wind up with X, Y, and Z disease and X, Y, and Z symptoms. So we really need to figure out like, okay, well, why is the gut microbiome imbalanced? What can we do about it? So that way our bodies can start utilizing the nutrients that we're taking in and can start healing properly. So some of the quick things that can cause the gut to be imbalanced is toxins. Okay. So toxins can actually cause an imbalance in the pH levels and can break down the lining of the gut. And where do we get these toxins? From pretty much everywhere. If you look at your ingredient list on the food, so for instance, Let's just take Lucky Charms cereal. It has a whole bunch of food dyes and food coloring. Well, we know that those food dyes and food colorings can actually cause inflammation within the gut. So, like red dye number 40 has been linked to colon cancer, Crohn's disease, IBS, IBD, anxiety, ADHD, just to name a few. All of that sugar, all of those carbohydrates actually feed bad bacteria and feed candida. Actually, I went to, because I have to get CEUs for nursing for as a nurse practitioner. And quite honestly, I hate getting CEUs because I don't agree with half of the stuff that I have to learn about. So it's like gut wrenching for me to sit through some of this stuff. And I went to a seminar given by a gastroenterologist, and they were talking about the gut microbiome. And some of the stuff I was actually kind of getting excited about because they were like, I was like, oh, Western medicine is finally catching on board with Eastern medicine. And they were like, yeah, there's more serotonin receptor sites, which is your happy hormones. There's more serotonin receptor sites in your gut than there is in your brain. So they were actually recognizing the gut brain balance, that you have an imbalanced gut, you can have mental health issues. Or vice versa. You can have mental health issues and you can have gut imbalances. Like, think about it. How many times have you ever been like really, really anxious or nervous and you had that like nervous stomach where your stomach was just all in knots? And the more anxious you got or the more upset you got, like the more your stomach got all upset and you almost like threw up or you had to run to the bathroom because you had the runs because you were so anxious that it caused your gut to go all haywire. So that's the connection. And I was really excited because they were actually mentioning this in the webinar, in the seminar that I was at. And I got to listen to this. And I was so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, they're finally on board. I'm like, I can listen to this. And then they were talking about, so the seminar was actually talking about then the doctor was like, yep, and we can actually do this now test, which can measure the diversity of the gut microbiome. And if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, then we can give them this antibiotic. And I just think, I'm like, why would we give that antibiotic? I'm like, so we're going to kill off the bad. So supposedly it targets the bad bacteria. But I'm like, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to kill off the bad bacteria with this antibiotic, but what are you doing to replace the good bacteria? So I just listened, and they kept going on about how this antibiotic was like the newest biggest thing, and it didn't have, a patient could take it as many times as they needed to because it didn't cause a sensitivity. And I'm sure some of you guys have heard, like, if you keep taking a certain antibiotic, your body becomes resistant to it and it no longer works. Well, supposedly this antibiotic won't do that. So so the patient can keep taking it as many times as they need to. So anytime that you test their gut microbiome and their poop sample, if it comes up with bad diversity in bad bacteria, you can just keep giving them this antibiotic. And I think my jaw like literally hit the table. I was like, okay. I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm like, because heaven forbid that we started actually replacing the good microbiome, right? Because if we do that, then it kind of keeps the bad bacteria in check. And heaven forbid that we actually talk about diet, because why prevent the bad bacteria from overgrowing in the first place? Oh no, that would make too much sense. So there I am, like listening to this doctor, and I'm like, the only holistic one in the room, and as a nurse practitioner, I'm the only holistic nurse practitioner. So there I am, like I raise my hand, like in front of like, I don't know, like I maybe there was like 50 people there. So other doctors, and I raise my hand and they're just like, yes. And I'm like, I got a question. And they're just like, okay. I'm like, so you're going to give this bacteria, this antibiotic to these people who have bad gut and bad bacteria overgrowth. But I'm like, but why have you not talked about like replacing the good bacteria to keep the bad bacteria in check? And I'm like, and what about diet? And they're just like, well, what about diet? And I was like, well, most Americans, do you agree that we eat too many carbohydrates? And they're just like, yes. I'm like, okay. And do you agree that many carbohydrates too much will feed the bad bacteria and allow the bad bacteria and candida and things like that to overgrow because you're feeding that? And they're just like, yes. I said, well, then why are we not talking about prevention as well? Not just treating the bad bacteria, but why are we not talking about preventing it first? And talking to people about diet and decreasing the amount of carbohydrates that people are eating so that they don't develop in this in the first place. And they all looked at me like I had 5 heads coming out of my neck because heaven forbid, like actually treating the cause and doing public education, that would make sense, right? Well, at least to me. So they looked at me and they said, this was literally their response, because most people don't want to change their diet and it's easier to give them a pill. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, now, granted, I cannot make a patient, I can only take them to the water. Like you've heard, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. So that is partly true, right? And diet is probably one of the hardest things for most patients to change. It seriously is, and I see this across the board. Like you could have like like not to sound goofy, a diabetic patient. And I have a couple of them. And sometimes it's like it's literally hard to change their diet and getting them to cut out the carbs and cut out the food, like in the food that they shouldn't be eating. But do we do that just because it's convenient? And do we just kind of overlook it? And do I just give a pill or do I try to educate people? I'm like, I don't know about you, but I think most people are now getting sick and tired of having pills. And it might not be an easy conversation for the practitioner. And the patient might not like what the practitioner has to say. But that's not really what we're here for. We're supposed to be here to help educate patients, get them feeling better so they don't have to rely on us. So when I heard this from like the doctor seminar, I was like really just dumbfounded. I was like, so like that's our job. We're supposed to educate, whether it's easy or not, or whether the patient really wants to listen to us or not. That's our job. We're supposed to be doing this. So, for any of you guys who want to listen, these are my recommendations as a holistic nurse practitioner. If you want to truly get back your health, then please sit back, take a quick listen. It's only going to be a couple minutes, and this could be a big game changer, whether you agree with me or not, or whether you feel like that this would be too difficult. This is the honest to God's truth. So, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. And I mean, I think most people want, us to be transparent and want us to be, forthcoming. And this, yes, I want to be personable. I want, to not sound like a complete jerk. But in the end, quite honestly, I'm here to make you feel better. You're like, when you come to me, you're paying for a service of mine, not to be your best friend. I mean, in all honesty, that's really the truth. Like, yes, I want to be personable. Yes, I love my patients and I look at them as my family, but I might have to say some hard truths. And like, that's just the plain, you want to get better? This is the truth. All right. So first off, cut out the freaking sugar and cut out the carbs. That's the honest truth. Cut it out. You don't need half of that stuff. Most of us should be on a keto diet, grain-free, refined sugar-free. But Tracy, it's too hard. There are so many freaking substitutes. There's so many YouTube videos out there. There's so many different recipes. Like, that's just an excuse. It's not as hard as it used to be 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There are recipes upon recipes. Shoot, I can even find like grain-free stuff over at Jewel, which is not even the healthiest store to buy it at. But now even mainstream stores are starting to get healthier and starting to bring on easier stuff to make it healthier for your lifestyle. So there's like literally no excuse except for the fact that a lot of us are lazy. We don't want to put the time and the effort into our health. We want some sort of magic pill or somebody to wave a magic wand and go poof, truth bomb, sorry. But that's what we want. We want somebody to like literally wave a magic wand so we don't have to do the work and somebody else does the work for us. Well, nobody is going to save you except for you. Nobody is going to save you except for you. I can give you all the guidance, but in the end, you have to do the work. So diet is a big, huge thing. Actually, in fact, 90% of my patients are on a, quite honestly, pardon my French, a shit ton of supplements. And they don't need to be. What are the supplements that's included? To balance out their nervous system. Because they're anxious, they're stressed out, they're not doing the things that they need to do to keep themselves emotionally, mentally balanced. They eat like garbage, so they're nutritionally deficient, creating even more mental stress. So I tell, if you're a patient, really, you should be doing meditation, breath work, grounding, some sort of physical movement, whether it's yoga, tai chi, walking, exercise. You should be doing that on a consistent basis. So many of my patients need emotional support with supplements. And in fact, a lot of my patients are on 2 to 3 supplements just to balance out and help with their emotional stress because they're not doing things to keep themselves grounded and to keep themselves balanced. And then a lot of my patients need stuff to repair their gut because or digestive enzymes because they're eating like garbage. They're putting in stuff that their body does not want. And I'm not saying that people can't have splurge days here or there, but you can't have splurge days every single day of the week or multiple times during the week. That splurge day, maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. So if your diet is consistent of splurge day, well, I ate healthy 2 days in a row, now I can eat like crap. It doesn't work like that. You have got to be eating healthy like 95% of the time. So that way, when you do splurge, your body can handle it because it is pretty healthy. You should be able to have that splurge day here and there. And I'm not saying people can't. But like I said, you have to be eating fairly healthy so your body can handle when you do have a splurge day. So most people should be having a keto diet, if not carnivore. And I'll even have some of my patients ask me, well, doesn't the body need glucose? Believe it or not, the body can break down meat into as much glucose as it needs. You don't need extra. People have reversed so many diseases. I challenge you to try keto. Like the first week might be tough, but I challenge you to try keto for like a full month and see how much inflammation decreases. I have heard time and time and time again, I've experienced it myself and everything else. When people decrease the amount of carbohydrates and processed foods, their body literally starts feeling better. It's unbelievable and amazing. The problem is that people don't want to put the time and the effort. They want to give into their indulgences and their splurging. And then they get upset when they need a lot of supplements. Supplements are just supposed to supplement a healthy diet. They're not there to replace a diet. So big, huge difference. You cannot use supplements to replace a healthy diet. It's supposed to fill in the missing gaps to a healthy diet. So that's the big, huge thing. So people like carbohydrates can actually cause stress on your liver, on your gallbladder, and on your gut. These carbohydrates will feed bad bacteria, will feed candida, actually will feed parasites too. We've been working on parasites with one of my patients who has uh, really bad IBS, IBD symptoms, including like diarrhea, constipation, really bad abdominal pain, gut cramping. And he's had some of the best, like we're 2 months in, 2.5 months in, and this is his best week so far. Like no abdominal pain, came in like where he was like work was horrific. He was going to the bathroom like 6 times a day because he would get really bad cramping and urgency and all that other stuff. Now he's just having regular bowel movements just in 2.5 months. What came up for him? Parasites and toxins and candida, I believe, as well. And we've been working on all of those. So it is possible to reverse your gut issues. And he's also, and his, bless his heart, his girlfriend is really helping him with his diet and things like that. And it's helping out tremendously. So diet is a really big, huge key thing. It's not the only thing, because if you do have toxins or you do have candida or whatnot, we have to address the underlying cause while changing and eating a healthier diet. And it's going to make the healing process so much better and so much easier. So if that is something that you are possibly interested in and wanting to learn more, give us a call, 708-694-4092, and we can discuss on how we can help your body heal naturally. Have a good night.